I'm super excited about today's video, so let's jump right into it. A couple days ago, this lovely commenter commented on the evolution of my taste in music and asked if I would be interested in doing a Q&A video. And I replied to the comment and I let him know that yeah, I would love to do a Q&A video, that sounds super cool, but I need to accumulate enough questions to last for an entire video. And I checked this morning and I had a reply from them as well as another lovely commenter who asked enough questions to fill an entire video. So here I am recording the Q&A and I'm super excited to be here. So yeah, I'm going to be answering some questions today. I marked this video as a part 1 because I'd love to turn this into a series. It'll probably be slow because I'll need to get questions from people in order to make a whole video, but yeah, Q&A with Chloe. This is going to be awesome. I'm super excited. What is the best thing about college? So I haven't gone to college yet. I did 2 college classes this summer to get some credits, but those are over now. But from what I've done in the college classes, I really liked that there was a lot more flexibility. So they were half credit, so they weren't full classes. We met once a week and we had to write like a short essay each week. But things were a lot more flexible. And so I could sort of build my schedule around that and have more time to do stuff like make YouTube videos because I wasn't in such a confined schedule. But like I said, I haven't actually gone to college yet. I'm going to be going in the fall. And I'll be sure to let y'all know about my experience when I get there. And with this question, I'm going to take this as a time to let y'all know that I will probably still be here on this couch well into the fall because I'm planning on pre-recording a bunch of videos before I go so that I can get adjusted to my class schedule and stuff before having to worry about filming again. So yeah. So the scariest thing about starting college, again, I'm not really sure because I haven't been to campus yet, but it is nerve-wracking because it's a whole new world. I'm 18, I've lived with my parents my entire life, and now I'm about to not live with my parents, and it's nerve-wracking, you know, but I think it's gonna be okay because I just met my roommate today, actually, and she seems really nice. It is scary to go into a new place and a new environment, especially because you get accustomed to high school. It's been 4 years of pretty much the same thing. I knew all my teachers really well, and now I'm going into a whole new kind of schooling system, away from my family, with a bunch of people that I don't know, and I'm gonna be the youngest one there, because it's gonna be jarring to go from the senior of high school to the freshman of college, but I think it's gonna be okay. My favorite subject at school was definitely English, and that's of the academic subjects. If I'm not going for straight academics, probably theater. I've always been the reader-writer kid as opposed to the math kid. I'm not good at math. But one of the reasons that I really liked English is that my school did English and writing as separate subjects, so we had a writing class and an English class. So we didn't have to do super long book reports. We did analysis, but we didn't need to, it wasn't as focused on the writing portion of it because we had another class for that. So I really felt like I could enjoy the book. Yeah, so English was definitely my favorite academic class. Theater was I really liked theater. I'm going to college for it. That's what I want to do. I like theater. What are my goals for my YouTube channel? So I'm still deciding that myself. I started YouTube a little over a year ago now, and it was mostly just because I didn't have anything to do over quarantine. School had just ended, and every activity that I had planned was canceled, so I had no idea what I was gonna do. And it's grown a lot. I had no idea I was gonna keep doing it this long, and I really enjoy it. I don't dream of being huge on YouTube because it's I mean, that'd be cool, obviously, but I think the thing that would be super cool to me is if I could just get big enough where I could do things maybe do a live stream or do more Q&A videos like this because I have enough engagement to be able to do that. Because if I tried to do a stream now, I don't think that I would get like any views because I think a lot of people watch my videos later. But so that's really, I think, what the idea would be for me, is to just get big enough that I can have a lot of audience interaction. That would be super cool. What is your biggest achievement so far in life? Wow. So I know it's probably cliche, but I felt super awesome about graduating high school. And not just graduating it, there was I got asked to sing at graduation, which I did and was super honored by. I also got the Community Service Award, which I am also super humbled by. Like, that was super awesome. And it just felt like a celebration of hard work. So I got my diploma, obviously, and I completed 2 certificate programs, so I got to wear ribbons. So I think there was just a lot on that day that I felt like I could be proud of. So I was proud of that. So when I got my wisdom teeth removed, was it fast to fall asleep at the dentist, and what was my experience? Alright, so here's how that went down. So like I mentioned in the vlog, I wasn't able to eat after, I think it was 10 p.m. the night before, up until after the surgery, because you can't have food like before they knock you out. And that wasn't so bad. Like, it wasn't like awesome, but I lived. So I went in there, and I think they like did what did they checking for, like blood pressure or something, where they like put your thing around your arm and they squeeze it and the balloon goes up, and then they check your heartbeat or something. And then they put the mask on my face, and I remember thinking that, like, it smelled bad. It probably doesn't smell bad to everyone. It smelled like super strong, like a minty smell, and I don't like mint, the smell or the taste. But they told me it was just oxygen, which I'm not sure. It probably was. It was probably just like residue of the other stuff in there. And I sat there for a couple seconds, and then they said, okay, the gas is coming through. And at first I didn't feel it, like, for like 2 seconds, like I was just breathing it in and coughing a little bit because I didn't like the smell. And for a second I was nervous. I was like, am I just not... for like half a second, I was convinced that I was not going to be able to fall unconscious, because that was what my logic went to. I was like, they use this for surgery for like millions and millions of people, but I'm going to be the one person who just couldn't get knocked out. But obviously that's not what happened. After the first few seconds, I suddenly felt like super sleepy. It felt exactly like if you've ever been up super late trying to do something, and then you like slowly feel yourself like fall asleep, and then I closed my eyes, and then I was asleep. And I think I dreamed, because when I woke up, I was confused, and then I realized like where I was. And the first thing they did was they got me up. I wasn't in like a bed. I was sort of in like a chair. Sort of like a chair you have at like the dentist, but I was like leaned back. So they stood me up, and they walked. I have no idea why I couldn't just sit in the chair for a second, but they walked me into the other room, and they sat me down, and they told me, like, don't close your eyes, try to stay awake. I didn't feel any pain. Like, my mouth felt super weird because I had the cotton in my mouth, and it was similar to what you saw in the video. I like the cotton in my mouth. My tongue was completely numb. Like, a bunch of stuff was completely numb, but my tongue was, like, stood out the most because it felt weird, like, in my mouth. And I remember the only weird thing was I was tired, and it didn't hurt, but like I clearly had like a bunch of drugs in me, so I was not feeling it. And I asked them, I was like, can I see my parents? And they're like, you need to like wake up more first. And I was like, but why? But in the end, it ended up being fine. Like, there was a while there, like, after I woke up where and I remember after they decided that I was, like, okay enough, they took the IV out of my arm, and they put me in a wheelchair, and then they left the room. but there was no door between where I was and where my parents were. There was just a hallway, and they left me in the room for like what was probably only like 3 minutes. But I was in the wheelchair and I looked out, and I knew that I was too drugged up to run to my parents, but I wondered if I had the ability to wheel towards them. Luckily, I didn't end up doing that. I just sat there and waited for the doctors to let me out. But there was a moment where I seriously considered, like, can I escape? But overall, the important thing I want to get out there is that the surgery was not that bad. I didn't feel any pain until later, and that was just a soreness. And falling asleep was easy. Like, don't panic and think that you're gonna, like, defy nature just because it takes you a couple seconds. That was my experience. That was not recorded on the camera. What are my favorite video games of all time? Okay, wow, I'm going to have a difficult time narrowing this down. The Portal series is amazing. Portal 1 was either the first or one of the first, like, serious games that I played by myself. Like, before I'd played, like, games on, like, websites and stuff, but this was the first game that, like, I bought and played without doing it with someone else, like my older brother. Like, the story is great, the comedy is great, the characters are great, the mechanics are great. It's so good, and I highly recommend it. I think it is one of the most brilliant games in the gaming industry, even to this day. Doki Doki Literature Club is by far, like, hands down, the most brilliant meta horror game that I've ever played in my entire life. It's so good, and it's free. Like, it's a short game. I played it in like 4 hours, but oh my god, it's worth $50. It's so good. I got so immersed in it. I remember my friend texted me and was like, you have to play the game. Don't Google it. Don't look up anything. Just sit down and play it. And I'm so glad he did. It was so good. Yeah. And then I think the last one that I'm going to say for favorite video games, I hate to say it, but the South Park games are so good. They've got some of the best character customization I've ever seen. The plot is super funny, even if you don't like the show. There is a bunch of content in the games, and then there wasn't any DLC for Stick of Truth, but the Fractured But Whole had really good DLC. It's just, I think when I rated them in my Rating Video Game series, I said this before, but I'll say it again, it drives me nuts and genuinely haunts me that, like, some of the best games that I've ever played were South Park games. Like, those shouldn't be some of the best games that I've played, but they are. They're very, very good. What are my top 3 horror movies? Oh my god, this is so difficult to narrow stuff down. The Silence of the Lambs. I know that I'm not the first person to discover The Silence of the Lambs, but it is very popular for a reason. The acting is amazing. Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter are terrifying, and they articulate this much better than I could in a CinemaSins video, or in the CinemaSins video about this movie. But the way that they portray Clarice in, like, the male-dominated field and how uncomfortable that is, it's brilliant. Like, everything about this film is really, really good, and it's based off of real-life things with Ted Bundy and the Green River Killer. I think it's everything that you could want in a horror movie. The Sixth Sense. Okay, I know that I'm not, like, super original in the horror movies that I'm talking about, but there's a reason why this movie is considered brilliant. I don't typically rewatch movies, but after figuring out the big twist at the end, there is a reason to rewatch the movie, because there is so much foreshadowing, and it's so brilliantly done. I cannot give this movie high enough praise. I think the last horror movie that I'm going to put in my top 3, probably Halloween. This one is very much a nostalgia one because it was one of the first horror movies that I watched. But it's sort of revolutionary. Like, the Halloween theme is iconic. It is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, horror movies, like, theme ever. And oh my god, Jamie Lee Curtis, an absolute queen. It doesn't like now we've got a dime a dozen movies like Halloween, but it was not when it came out, and I think it deserves credit for being so revolutionary. But yeah, I think it goes up here with my top 3 because it has such a place in my heart as being one of the earlier films that I watched, and because it defined the horror franchise as we know it. So yeah, those are my top 3. Silence of the Lambs, Sixth Sense, and Halloween. What color socks am I currently wearing, and do they match? So I'm not wearing socks right now. I'm wearing these fluffy slippers. Whenever I'm just around the house, I'm either wearing fluffy socks or these slippers. I always have to have the fluffy socks matching, because if you're using different pairs of fluffy socks have like a different kind of fluffy, like the texture is slightly different or the thickness of the fluff. So if you have mismatched fluffy socks, then it doesn't work. So when I'm around the house or filming YouTube videos, if I'm wearing fluffy socks, they are matching. As for when I leave the house, I've got like ankle socks that are all black, and the reason they're all black is so that I don't need to worry about matching them, because they're all the same color and the same brand. So yeah. Who are my favorite YouTubers? So I'm actually planning on making the evolution of my taste in YouTube, but so I'm not going to go through like my entire life, because that's going to be a super long video that I'd like to do in the future. But I'm going to let me tell you about the YouTubers that I'm watching right now. I've been listening lately to a lot of Creeps McPasta. He's my favorite like horror YouTuber. He's doing videos every single day now, which I still can't fathom how people do that, even though I'm sure it's not just him and he's got his whole team. I assume. I can't fathom doing videos every single day, like even with a whole team. So I can't imagine that he's by himself. But yeah, he's doing videos every single day. And yeah, it's more of, I'm not sure, he posts his stuff on YouTube, but it's more of a podcast, since it's just, you're just listening to it, but you should check him out. He's very good. I've been listening to commentary stuff. The 3 commentary YouTubers that I really like are Curtis Connor, Danny Gonzalez, and Drew Gooden. I'm not sure if it's obvious that I listen to YouTubers like that, considering that I kind of copy their style a little bit. Well, I don't want to say copy. I like, imitation is the highest form of flattery. I like their stuff, so I do stuff that's sort of similar. I've also been watching Rob Gavigan a lot. Both Seriously Strange and Why Would You Put That on the Internet. His horror stuff is super awesome, and his comedy is really, really funny. I think he stopped doing Why Would You Put That on the Internet, but he's got over 100 episodes online. So I just will go through those. But yeah, those are on my circuit right now. If you are interested, I will make a video going more in depth into the kinds of content I watch on YouTube in the future. But those are the guys that I'm like really hyper-focused on right now. What countries would I like to visit? So I really love to travel, and I haven't traveled a lot recently because of like this COVID-19 thing that I heard about on the news. But God, there's a lot of places that I really want to go see. I think the one place that I've always really, really, really wanted to go to was Tokyo. I love cities. I think New York City is my favorite place in the world, and I've seen, like, everything I've seen about Tokyo, it just looks super cool, and like the technology is super advanced, and there's just a lot, it just looks cool. I think that would be a super cool place to visit. What TV shows have I been binging recently? Okay, so I've been watching Rick and Morty because that's coming out right now, but that's not really binging. I've been binging Game of Thrones. I'm almost done with the series. I've got like 3 episodes left. I think Game of Thrones is the only TV show that I'm binging right now, but I've been listening to a lot of horror podcasts. I'm like 100 episodes into the Magnus Archives, and while I was recovering from my like wisdom teeth surgery, I listened to the entirety of the Black Tapes just like in that week, so I was productive. I also just finished Rabbits. Well, okay, I did season 1 and I did 3 episodes of The Path. I just need to watch the the first episode of season 2, which came out earlier this month, and then I'm caught up. So I'm almost caught up with Rabbits. I just did the Black Tapes. And yeah, I listened to Tanis a couple months ago. I also just finished Archive 81. So I've been binging a lot of these like horror podcasts. I'm going to do the last episodes of Rabbits, then I'm going to go back to the Magnus Archives and hopefully finish that. And I think the next one I'm going to listen to is Welcome to Wormwood. So I've got a bunch of podcasts that I'm listening to. But I've also got TV shows that I want to sit down and binge. The big one that I want to do is BoJack Horseman, because I've seen a couple episodes, but I want to like sit down and actually like watch it all the way through. I've also got Doctor Who to catch up on. I haven't watched in a while. I've got a lot of stuff to do. What are my favorite ever music albums? Oh, this is another tough one. This one is particularly tough because, especially nowadays, I feel like a lot of the music I listen to, I just like pick out random songs from a bunch of different albums. But if I think of the stuff that I listen to, that I'm listening to the full album, a lot of that is musical theater soundtracks. My favorite of all time being the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack. I think it's gorgeous and haunting and amazing. So that would probably, I'd say, be my favorite album. Other musical theater ones that I really liked, Les Mis, which is like, again, another example of me not being super creative because everybody loves Les Mis, but for good reason. It's so good. The music is very good. I liked Hairspray a lot. I liked Love Never Dies, even though the plot is bad. I'm sorry, Andrew Lloyd Webber, but the plot is bad. But I did really like the soundtrack. That was really good. I'm trying to think of albums that aren't musical theater soundtracks. I pretty much all of Penelope Scott's albums I like, because she's a new enough artist that I can comfortably say that I've listened to like all of her music. I also, like I mentioned in the video, I like Maroon 5. I know, like super basic, super suburban white mom energy, but I like songs about Jane, and I also like Hands All Over. I know, it's bad. Like, nobody should listen to Maroon 5, but I like his stuff. What's the best concert I've been to? A couple years back, during, I went to Taylor Swift's Reputation tour, because I haven't actually gone to that many concerts. I really want to, and I've got a couple coming up when things are like normalish again. But I went to the Reputation concert because a good friend of mine invited me. She's like, hey, we have an extra ticket, do you want to tag along? And I remember thinking, like, I haven't listened to Taylor Swift since I was a kid, but it's a free concert and I like live music, so I'm just gonna go. And I went, and they played a bunch, because I haven't listened to Taylor Swift a ton since I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I used to listen to her all the time. And when they played music from that era, I felt a sense of joy that I don't think I have felt since the age that I listened to Taylor Swift. It was super awesome. And it was really nice to go with my friend. It was probably the last concert I went to before everything shut down, so yeah, I need to go to more concerts. Another concert that comes to mind, I know you said favorite, but I'm forgetting what his real name is. Okay, I just googled it. His name's Ross Lynch. It was him and his siblings. I don't remember what their band was called, but this was forever ago. I was a really little kid. And I knew Ross Lynch, and the reason why I couldn't remember what his real name is because I knew him and kind of still know him as Austin Moon from Austin and Ally. And even at that young age, like, I knew that Austin Moon was a character, but we went to the meet and greet afterwards, and I just got super overwhelmed, and I went, Austin Moon, it's really you, and I ran up and I hugged him, and all his siblings, like, were like, aw, so, yeah, that was cool. I really need to go to more concerts, but yeah, those two stand out. What do I think is the safest way to catch a big bear that's running loose in the neighborhood? So this is definitely dependent on a lot of factors, but let's assume that it's in an area similar to mine, which is a suburb right outside of a big city. You're obviously going to need to tranquilize the bear, but you don't want to do it within like close proximity to anything like that could harm the bear, or that the bear could use to harm the person tranquilizing it, because tranquilizers take a little bit to work. I don't remember exactly how long, but I know that that's a problem, is that you need to give them a second. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is lure the bear into a safer area. While it's probably going to be too difficult to lure the bear completely out of the suburb, the best thing to do, I think, would be to, for example, lure the bear into an open area like a park. Make sure to evacuate the park first. You could use apples to try to lure the bear into the park, or alternatively, you could use loud noises away from the park so that the bear runs toward the park. Be careful with the loud noises one, because bears are like unpredictable and might get mad. So apples is probably the safer solution, but if the bear is non-responsive to the apples, then you might need to take more drastic measures. The bear, if possible, try to like get a park that's like gated in, so that you can shut the gate while the bear is angry from being tranquilized, and then once the bear is unconscious, you can then safely put the bear into a cage and move the bear to a more appropriate habitat. I'm not an expert on bear containment, but that is the strategy that I would take if I was charged with removing a bear from a residential neighborhood. And the last question is, what is my zodiac and do I believe in horoscopes? So I'm a Pisces, and the question as to whether or not I believe in horoscopes is a little bit complicated. I enjoy horoscopes, and like I like know the traits that supposedly go with people's horoscopes. I don't believe it is an exact science, but I think it's cool, you know? I think that my zodiac sign is extremely accurate. Like, every single thing that you hear about Pisces, like intuitive, super emotional, that's me. The only thing is that a lot of people depict Pisces as introverted, which I'm not. I'm not shy or introverted, but like the whole like super crybaby thing, that's accurate. But like I mentioned in the horoscopes video that I made, like, I'm not sure if it's accurate because it's actually accurate, or if I see the things in my sign that I expect to see. Could I probably convince myself that any of the signs are super accurate? Probably. There's a couple signs that I look at and I'm like, I'm nothing like this, but for most of them, yeah, it's probably common enough where you can apply that to yourself. But I don't know, I like zodiac signs, and I think they're interesting, and I don't read my horoscope every single day. I read them, I read my horoscope on my birthday. I cut it out of the newspaper and put it in my journal. But like stuff like that, you know? When I start dating someone, I look to see if we're astrologically compatible, but like, I don't break up with them if we're not. I guess that's the best way of describing it. Like, I check to see if me and my partner are astrologically compatible, but I keep dating them even if we're not. But that's all the questions that I got for this video, and I had a lot of fun answering them. This was super awesome. I'd love to do a video like this in the future, so if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please put it in the comments, and I will be collecting them and make another video when I have enough. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.